Sotah Daf Zayin discusses three sigas pertaining to the halachos of the dirt that is used from the floor of the Beis Hamikdash to prepare the Sotah water. But first is going to discuss, could you use ash for it? That'll be a lengthy sugya with a number of proofs. Then the Gemara will discuss how it compares to other halachos, and the third sugya will be what happens if you put it in the water out of order. You put it and the water out of order in the kli. So let's begin. The Gemara is a shaila: can you use ashes for the dirt of the Sotah water? Now, this is based on the fact that the word afar, which means dirt, and the word afer, which means ashes, are very similar. And it's possible that afer counts as afar. Now, we find that that's a machlokas between Mesom, Meshama, and Mesachas Chulin concerning the mitzvah of kisui hadam, of covering the blood of a bird or chay that was shechted. Over there, the Torah says afar, and according to Beis Hillel, it also refers to afer, because you see that the paraduma ashes are called afar. Therefore, ashes can be called afar. According to Beis Shammai, you can't, it doesn't refer to that, and you cannot use ashes as afar. So the first question here is, when the Torah says to use afar to create the Sotah water, could that be afer as well? So the Gemara says, the question is obviously only in Beis Hillel's opinion. In Beis Shammai's opinion, you can never use ashes as afar. And Beis Hillel that says you can use ashes as afar for kisui hadam, can use ashes as afar here. And that's based on the fact that the Torah has the extra phrase here where it says bekarka hamishkan. It says you have to take from karka hamishkan. So it could be that that is coming to exclude specifically that you can't use ashes. Now the other possibility is that it's not for that. It's for two other drashas, which we saw on the last daf, which were brought by Isi ben Yehuda and Isi ben Menachem. Their drasha was either to tell me that it says bekarka mishkan, that you have to take from the floor of the mishkan, not from somewhere else, and if you do bring from somewhere else, you have to put it on the floor. Or it's to tell me that you can include the Sotah procedure can be done in other batei mikdash, such as Beis Hamikdash itself, or according to some gerses, shila novin given. So the Gemara therefore has this shaila, and the Gemara is going to attempt to resolve it by bringing a proof. So the Gemara says Rav Yechon brings a proof. Never Bishmo. There's a brayso that says there are three places where you have a halacha that's pretty clear in the pasuk, but comes halacha Moshe Sinai and pretty much uproots it. It shows that that's not what the halacha was meant to be at all. So what are those three halachos? So the first one is none other than kisui hadam, which we just discussed earlier. The Torah says pretty clearly that it has to be afar. Comes along the halacha Moshe Sinai and says that it could be any type of thing which you can grow plants in. It could be afar, it could be dirt, it could be sawdust, it could be a number of other things. The second example is what is forbidden for a nazir to remove his hair. The pasuk only says he can't use a razor, but halacha Moshe Sinai says he can't remove his hair in any way, in any kli. And the third halacha is the halacha of on what can you write a get, a bill of divorce. The Torah says it has to be a sefer, which implies it has to be klaf, parchment, but the halacha is that you're allowed to use anything. So these are the three examples, and the question is, what's obviously missing from the list is to say that you can use ashes for Sotah water. If you be allowed to use ashes for Sotah water, the Torah we should have on the list of things where the pasuk clearly says one thing and halacha Moshe Sinai includes something else. So the Gemara says, no, it's not a proof. Every list does not have to be comprehensive. It could very well be that this really belongs on the list, but the list wasn't comprehensive, it left us off. So Gemara asks, as it always does, you cannot have a list that's missing only one thing. If it's not comprehensive, it has to be missing at least two things. So show me something else that's missing from the list that you can tell me that it's missing this. So Gemara says there is something else that's missing from the list. And that is the halacha of the haircut of a mitzaira, his second tahara haircut. When a mitzaira completes his tahara process, when he heals from the mitzaira, he takes a haircut, he shaves all the hair on the body, and then 7 days later he shaves all the hair on the body again. So that second shaving, the pasuk itself only implies that he only has to cut off the places where you have concentrations of hair. Halacha Moshe Sinai says you have to shave all of the body, and that's not mentioned on the list here. So the Gemara brings a brayso that expresses this entire halacha. The brayso says you have a klal part klal as to where he has to shave. The Torah describing it begins with b'yemashvi yigalach kol sari. That's a klal, general, all his hair. Then it says his head, his beard, and his eyebrows. That's very specific. And then it says kol sari yigalach, again reverts to the general. So klal part klal, the rule is that you have to include things which are similar to the prat, but not only the prat. You add onto the prat. So how do we define the prat? So the prat here, the hair, the beard, and the eyebrows are places where you have a large concentration of hair. It's not spread out, it's concentrated. And also it's not hidden in a fold of the body. So therefore, we'll include other places where you have concentration of hair, and it's not hidden in a fold of the body. Namely, we include the hair of the lower region, but we don't. That is the place where the legs meet, but we don't include the hair of the armpit or of the rest of the body, because there it's either not in a fold like the rest of the body, or it is in a fold, and therefore it's a problem because it's not revealed. That's the hair of the armpit, even though the hair of the armpit is concentrated, but it's not revealed. So that's what the pasuk would say, that you only have to shave those areas, that is the ones mentioned specifically, as well as the hair of the lower region. But the halacha mentioned is that you have to shave every single hair. So therefore, you have here another halacha. The halacha mentioned uproots what is said in the pasuk, and it's not listed in the spices. So therefore, we could say that our halacha of using ashes for sotah water is also just left out, even though it's true. The Gemara responds with three reasons that the list should not have included the haircut, the shaving of the mitzvah, that it doesn't belong on the list, and therefore it's not called left off the list. The three reasons are as follows. The first one is Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. He says the list was not meant to include things which come from a drasha. It was only meant to include things which are specific in the pasuk, but the halacha Moshe Sinai uproots it. Rav Papa says the list was not meant to include things where the halacha Moshe Sinai just added on an additional activity. It refers to a place where it actually takes away or changes what the halacha was. Like you, instead of using one thing, you'll use something else. Here, just additional place to cut. That doesn't negatively impact, as it were, the simple meaning of the psukim by saying that you could not do, or you could avoid, or do something else other than what it says. And Rav Ashi says that there's nothing here, there's no issue with the list, because this Mishnah doesn't hold that way. So Machlokes Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Akiva, whether you're supposed to shave the hair of the lower region based on this drasha and not the rest of the body. According to Rabbi Shmuel, this drasha says you don't shave the hair of the rest of the body. According to Rabbi Akiva, you do shave the hair of the rest of the body, and he learns it from the pasuk, not halacha Moshe Sinai. He says it's learned from the pasuk. Rabbi Shmuel agrees that you shave it ultimately, but he says the drasha would say not to, as halacha Moshe Sinai says you do. Rabbi Akiva understands the psukim differently, and he has the pasuk saying that you do. He has, instead of having a klal protocol here, he views it as a riboy, miyut, and riboy. In a case like that, you include almost everything. You just take one thing out, and he takes out the hair of the nose. That because that's internal, you don't have to shave that as part of the haircut and shaving of the mitzvah. But other than that, it's pretty clear in the psukim himself. So therefore, this mitzvah thing doesn't belong on the list. Therefore, there's nothing else missing from the list, and therefore it wouldn't be proper to say that it's just left off the list that you could use ashes for sotah water, and therefore it seems pretty clear from this brisa that that's not true. You can't use ashes for sotah water. Now the Gemara asks, what was the psak halacha l'maisa? So Gemara wants to say that they can derive it from a halacha which was said by Rav Huna bar Ashi, name of Rav. It says that if you don't have dirt, you could use rotted wood, which pretty much is very similar to dirt. Gemara wants to say if you could use rotted wood, which is not actual dirt, you should be able to use ashes, which is not actual dirt. So Gemara says it's not necessarily true. You can't derive that. You can't derive one from the other. Rotted wood is turning into dirt, and it's soon going to be dirt. Ashes is not turning into dirt, and it's not soon going to be dirt. The Gemara now begins another sugya. The Gemara refers to the next line in the Mishnah where we had said that the dirt has to be visible on top of the water. It cannot be mixed into the water so that's dissolved and you don't see it. So the Gemara brings a brisa that says there are three things, possibly a fourth, that have to be visible in that way. One of them is, like we said, the dirt of the sotah water. The other one is the ashes are mixed into the paraduma water, the paraduma ashes. And the third one is when a yavama does chalitza, she has to spit on the ground next to the yavam. That spit has to be visible. The beis din that's there has to see it. Now, the fourth thing is a machlokes, and that's Rabbi Shmuel, who says that when you mix the blood of the bird, that's part of the mitzora tahara process. It says you take two birds, you shecht one of them, you mix the blood into water, and then you dip eitz, erez, ezov, and shnei talas, and you sprinkle it on him. So there, the blood in the water has to be not dissolved, it has to be visible. So Gemara says that's Rabbi Shmuel's opinion. The Chum disagree. What's the machlokes? So Rabbi Shmuel says the pasuk has odd wording. It says v'tavel osam v'tzipar achaya b'dam hatzipar hashchuta al hamayim. it says bidam should be in the blood, and it says al hamayim. If we just say bidam, it would be just the blood. If we just say b'mayim, it would be just the water. Bidam al hamayim says that the blood and the water have to be together, and this is teaching me that the blood and the